So, hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of In Conversation With. My name is John Lunn, aka Jonnychipz, and in this video series, we talk all things cloud with experts and advocates from right across our industry, covering a wide variety of topics from skills and careers through to technical overviews and softer skills. So, whether you're watching this on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or LinkedIn, thanks so much for tuning in. It really is appreciated. Please do take part in the chat below. Drop us a comment, a like, and a subscribe if you can. That would be absolutely awesome. Okay, so my next guest is currently a cloud solutions architect at Microsoft, but before that, she worked as a solutions architect for Vodafone, who are a very large telecommunications provider over here in the UK. So based out of Manchester, I'm honoured to welcome my next guest on In Conversation With as Maryam Riaz. Hey, Maryam, how you doing? Thanks for joining me.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm doing very well. The sun's come out for a change, so it's nice and warm here with
Yes.
me in sunny South Wales. How's things with yourself there, Maryam?
Strangely, we have got sun here as well in Manchester for once, for a
Oh,
change.
what more could we want, eh? You know,
Yeah.
what more could we want? Maryam, look, we've got some really interesting topic areas to talk around tonight. But as usual, all my guests come on this show. Do you want to give yourself a little bit more of a broad introduction? Let us know what you're up to in the industry at the moment.
Oh, that would be lovely. First, thanks for having me here. It's lovely to see your videos, and being a part of it is definitely something, a dream come true. So, from a short introduction for myself is that I was from the beginning, I was a tech girl, and I loved computing and physics and all that from when I was a kid. And I continued that journey. And it's very, I feel that I'm kind of like a privileged person in the sense that I knew from the beginning what I want to do, and I just continue the same line. So as you said in the introduction that I was previously in Vodafone, and I'm here in Microsoft, and I would love to talk to about the journey, anything that you would like to know. So, but right now I'm a cloud solution architect. My main focus area is infrastructure and a bit of security as well,
Hmm.
and my main interest is in networking. Obviously, coming from Vodafone, it was natural
Yeah,
progression for
sure.
myself. And we have got different kind of like team structures here in Microsoft. They focus on different kind of areas. I am more like an aligned CSA, and the majority of my customers are public sector and central gov. So anything Parliament, digital services, health and treasury, all those bits and pieces, with the child
Cool.
accounts, uh, I looked after them. Yeah. So this
Oh,
is
that's
me,
cool.
and yeah.
No, and it sounds like we've got very similar kind of backgrounds because obviously I work at BT at the moment, which are another large telco in the UK. I know that's going to be one of our little talking points. Maybe we'll get to that a bit in a second. But look,
Yeah.
I said to you off camera there, cloud solutions architect working at Microsoft. Microsoft, got to be an absolutely awesome company to work for. I mean, how did you was it the dream of yours to kind of end up working at Microsoft, or was it just something that happened? Talk us a little bit through that, Maryam.
It's it was something that started coming into my mind few years back, and it was natural because I could see the shift of the network going towards cloud a lot.
Mm,
So you tend to see the customer, because I was solution architect in Vodafone as well. They were talking about more about their cloud strategy, what they want to do with it. So naturally, I started looking to what cloud has to offer, and I find it really fascinating, really agile solutions that appeal to our customers, and new way to networking and whatnot. So I think that was the beginning of my interest in cloud. And what better organization to join than Microsoft? So
mm.
when Microsoft approached, and after going through the process, it was lovely to join. And Microsoft is an exciting place to work with. So, and you can measure it. And I'm speaking very candidly here. If you get up in the morning and you feel excited to be in front of the laptop, that's what you know that you are at the right place
Mm,
at the right
mm.
time. And this is the feeling that I get every day when I wake up.
I mean, oh, that's awesome. I mean, is it just down to the technology? Because like I think you hit the nail on the head there when you start to see the transition over to cloud technologies, and
Mm,
that's kind of right the way through the technology stack at the moment. Everything has got a cloud flavor, in the sense
mm,
that businesses are now starting to turn to cloud first strategy rather than looking at kind of building up their on prem. And I guess it's to do with those skill sets and expenditure, and maybe not every business is a tech company in the sense that they've got
mm, mm.
resources on site to feed and water these things. I mean, how have you found that transition, Maryam? From going from that traditional kind of, I guess, that telco world where everything is kind of there, done, physical hardware based. How have you found that transition? For your own education, moving into a cloud platform.
For my own kind of like transition, and if I'm speaking like from the point of view of technology, so I think you when you are in that space where you are kind of like a solution architect, you interact with customer, your motivation comes from what is going on the field. So when you see a trend that is, or somebody's talking on the field, you start looking into what is there, how can I help a customer, how can I scale myself up, what is there in organization, how can feed my, provide the feedback that I'm getting from the field to the organization so we can improve our processes there. So, and I think the skill wise, when you start to read more about cloud, you kind of realize there's a lot of contribution that you can do. So, for instance, if I write, I'm giving you a very small example. If I write a script, a PowerShell script, and I put it in GitHub and I used it for automation of XYZ service, there is a wide, community that I've contributed there, and there's a sense of fulfillment that comes from it. And cloud environment provides you with that satisfaction to be part of a larger community and to grow their skill. And I think thus comes the transition of your culture, your thinking, your approach towards your work as well. So I think it's not only transformable for the customer, but it's a huge transformation for yourself as well and your own mindset. And you will hear a term, in I don't know about other organizations, but I can speak about Microsoft growth mindset and fail fast, learn fast. So this is something that I think it's like a cultural change that you have to adopt. And we can talk about the challenges as a business that telcos are having, and what are the opportunities for them as well. But especially for the people that are there, I think people who are quickly transitioning to cloud and growing in their fields is they have that basic growth mindset and they believe in fail fast and just keep on growing, that kind of thinking. And that's what important here to transition, to go through this transition and be successful.
I mean, that's a great piece of advice, to be honest, Marion, because I can remember, like from my own personal viewpoint, of kind of almost having that epiphany moment that the penny is dropped when you kind of transition over to that kind of very much that fixed way of thinking. And I was very much one of those people in years gone by where I learned something, this is how it's do it, and this is the only way that you can do something, to
Mm,
actually try and start to explore these things. And I couldn't, I completely agree with how you framed it there, that shifting that mindset is very much like a change you've got to go through as an individual almost. It sounds a little bit cliched, I guess, to a certain extent, but it's so very true. And it kind of, everything that we do with cloud is very much about that. Do something, realize that you may fail on the first, second, third, fourth, fifth attempt, but you take the learnings from those failures,
absolutely.
don't dwell on them, and don't take the negative connotations. So,
Yes.
I mean, that's a brilliant piece of advice for people. And I guess maybe if we talk around, obviously where you're currently working at Microsoft at the moment, and one of the topic areas we were going to talk around is this situation that we've got at the moment where we like, I work for BT as a telecommunications
Yeah.
provider. You've
Yeah.
worked at Vodafone. These businesses now, don't get me wrong, BT is a fantastic place to work for. From my own point of view, and I'm not just saying
Mm.
that, they truly are a great organization. But even businesses of that caliber and that size and scale have kind of got to go through this kind of almost transitional phase. I mean, Did you encounter any of that when you were at Vodafone, Maryam? Or what do you think that landscape is looking like today?
Oh, massively. So when I was, and I have every bit of respect, and I'm full advocate of anybody who wants to join Vodafone. It's a fantastic place to work, and that both what I've worked in both Vodafone UK and Vodafone Global. Global looks at the kind of like global customers, and UK one is the that one that focus on just UK based customers. And both organizations were fantastic, and they offer different kind of scope to customer. And I think the one thing I can speak about Vodafone and I think other telcos are they're very much customer obsessed and the customer focused. Hence, they felt the need of bending over to adopt themselves to be a techco because they're listening to their customers. They know that this transition is coming and the speed that it is coming at, this is the challenge. So, and I think they are doing really well to cope with, and the leadership is very aware of it. They're providing the strategy to go through it. Um, and I think the main challenges in terms of telco that we have is again, it has to do with culture, people, and it's I know it's again it's kind of like cliche, but this is what it is. If people and the culture is more agile, things will change faster, and this is what the main challenge of the telco is. It's not they don't have cloud, or it's not about the tech, it's not about the skills, it's about the cultural mindset change of being more agile, respond quickly, update your networks, listen to your customer, and being less process heavy and more resilient. So adopt more. I think that's the main challenge of the environment. And this is what I think when I was in Vodafone. If I'm really keen to get things what my customer is saying, and if I want that done, the customer has to wait for a certain time to get it done, and that time is usually not acceptable to a customer. And that was my only challenge. Otherwise, everything I think the dealing, the mindset, the skills, everything is fine. Um, and I think what we can see rather than looking at the challenge, if we see the opportunity, and if you think about these telco networks, what opportunities do they have? So, for instance, I'll give you the very basic one. Today, I ordered my lunch from Subway, and the minute I press, that pay for blah blah confirmed, it straight away went to the cell tower first. So my first touch point of my data is that cell tower, and then it goes, behind whatever it needs to do, and wherever it goes, and it goes to the point where it is its destination. So they have got immense amount of this data, the movement, the mobile data, the personal, private, whatever it is, coming on the towers, and I think that's what is valuable for these telcos. And I think they're already leveraging and thinking around that in terms. So how do you utilize that data? How do you increase the value of your service? How do you pick up those cookies, those settings, and use it to develop some applications? And I could see it in Vodafone. They were already thinking about, for instance, analytics as a service, and this is where I think the telco has got a big advantage to utilize and being more data centric organizations to be a telco. And I think the other point is that I think that we can talk about more, what Azure is doing in that space and how it can support the operators is think about like more spin around workloads rather than having definite towers there. So how can you utilize the cloud native approach to save money and put money elsewhere? So I think there are a few opportunities that I can see the telcos utilizing and going forward. And the other thing is you must know that when they have got that thinking of SD-WAN, zero touch, bandwidth on demand. This is something that is their treasure. So, and there are people who are trying to respond to the demands as well. However, the again the problem that is there is the speed and agility. in these organizations.
Mm.
And I think the last I left was this is the only challenge that somebody that is in telco needs to overcome. Otherwise, they have got a lot to, a lot of opportunities to grow.
Do you know that you explaining Vodafone then, a lot of those points that you were bringing up there, I reflect on, my life. Like, don't get me wrong, I sit in a part of BT that is very, I'm looking up, if you like, and I only see a certain area of BT. But like Vodafone, they seem to have a very similar organizational structure in the
Yeah.
sense that you've got global services, you've got UK centric services, and of course, BT have got, like Vodafone, they've got EE, which is the mobile connectivity piece. Now, clearly, telcos, their bread and butter, to their core is about networking, and as you kind of pointed out there, that networking piece around anything from fixed access over fiber or wherever it may be, through to cell towers and 5G technologies that are obviously becoming more and more prevalent. And when you talk about factoring in this, I guess with an organization or organizations like telcos that are so large, in terms of numbers of staff and employees,
Yeah.
all predominantly with great ideas, how do you kind of herd all of those people together to kind of change that culture? And I guess I don't think that, my point of view, I don't think that's necessarily a problem for telcos per se. It seems to be the way that many businesses are going at the moment. We still seem to be in this transition phase where, lots of companies get it and are running down the road with cloud. Other companies might be a little bit further behind, but they've got this level of maturity with their culture and staff and training. And I see it, but it's really cool to kind of see a Vodafone and how that relates to BT, because clearly these organizations are hugely important organizations, not just for the UK, but all the work they do in other parts of the world. And I've heard this terminology, transitioning from a telco to a tech company. I mean, what's your view? Is it just about the networking? Is there something more to becoming a tech company for telcos that maybe they should be being aware of? What's your view on that, Maryam?
So I think the first thing that you pointed out quite right is that the culture is the same. So when you see telcos, BT and Vodafone, other companies, the culture is more or less the same. The structure is the same. And this is my own experience of working Vodafone UK and global, and it could be different from where you are sitting, and what you are seeing is upskilling your people, investing in your people is the first step,
Mm.
encouraging them to upskill themselves. So if, for instance, my interest was in data, I really wanted to grow in it. And there was a program run by a government, I think it's Data Academy, beta program, and
Okay.
Vodafone was
Yep.
part of it. I applied in it and I was really keen, but I had to prove myself that I'm worthy of it. It was not handed over on my hand.
Right.
And this is I think the first step that telco needs to do is to encourage their people to whatever their interest is. Let them envision where they want to sit and what they want to do. If it's data, if it's programming, if it's automation, is it cloud native, it doesn't matter. Let them invest in your people's skill, give them time, allocation, encouragement, incentive in terms
Mm.
of for instance, something that we have in Microsoft is that tech skill. They encourage you to get the certifications, and there are incentives for getting it. It's recognized by our leadership as a time well spent. It's not about my own personal growth. They see it as an organizational growth. So
Mm.
I think that's the first thing that needs to change in telcos is that allowing people to develop in the skills in the interest area they really want to be in, and then provide them opportunities to apply those skills. And what I mean by that is, for instance, you see left, right, and center in telcos that there is an issue with billing, or there is issue with some certain automation, or this process is not fast enough. How do I track a project? Allow a person to, for instance, develop some skills in DevOps or Azure DevOps and use that and bring that agility in it. So if a person is comfortable in a team of using DevOps and skills and pipelines and repos and all that, they can immediately would like to contribute that. So I think that's the first way to make the coordination of the people and bring that the herd together, as
Mm.
your words, the herd together to do something. Is first people need to be comfortable and confident enough to come out of their shells and be
Mm.
a part of that movement. And that encouragement needs to come from a leadership.
I guess it's like you say as well, just not being afraid to fail, like you said earlier on. It's
Yeah.
just, and I guess that's again part of the culture of the organisation. I know traditionally you hear horror stories about people working at these businesses where they're chastised and kind of held over a
Mm,
barrel if they make a mistake, and that's not how it should be. I'm right in thinking that culture of an organisation should be that growth mindset, like you pointed out earlier, Mariam. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And one short thing is in Microsoft, and I'm sure in many other organizations as well, we are encouraged to get a positive and a negative feedback from our
Hmm.
teams and
Interesting.
customers.
Yeah.
And we are also encouraged to get perspective. So what did I did right? How can I improve myself? What
Mm.
is my best quality you like? And what do you think I should do more? And you attach all of it. So if when you're doing your reviews and all that, it's not about being a shining star. It's about showing that I'm willing to listen, I'm willing to grow, I'm willing to take on board all the good and the bad, and make it work. So if a customer is pointing out that you need to be more strategy aware, and in the next 3 months, how did I improve myself? Getting
Mm.
that feedback, and that's what's important. And I think, again, this is what I began with: cultural change, fail fast, growth mindset, and that's all. It's not about other resources, and they will come. They will always come.
And it's again brilliant words, Miriam. I completely agree with what you're saying there. I think it's maybe it's important for people watching this now or listening to this video is what you just said there is that it's almost that this growth mindset, you kind of need to try and adopt these principles as an individual for you, to kind of grab your own career by the horns, so to
Yeah,
speak, and move into those areas. But you also, you need to be working for those companies, I guess, that enable you to have the time like you've
absolutely.
suggested. And
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
guess for the companies, it's that culture that they need to kind of be very well aware of. And like I say, I work for, BT, Vodafone. Clearly, that's the way that those businesses have been traveling over the last few years now.
Mm,
And like I say, I've got zero complaints. And it's a long journey. It's the long game, I think, because it takes a
yeah.
long time for people to upskill, to find those little niches in cloud, to identify or even understand what is available from cloud technology.
Mm.
And you mentioned your focus on infrastructure and apps, and very keen in the networking concepts of cloud networking. What advice would you have for somebody to try and identify or even understand the world of cloud computing? Because just to add a little bit of context, that I've spoken to a lot of guests about how everything seems to be overlapping. Technologies seem to be overlapping a lot, whereas before I felt, maybe it's my own perception, but I felt things
Mm.
were very much siloed.
Yeah.
If you were networking, you were on routers and switches. If you were application based, you were on these particular applications. Have you got a take on that, Mariam, with this overlapping thing? Am I seeing it in the same way as you, or what's your take on that?
You're absolutely right. So the lines are getting blurred now. So because if I'm talking about infra, it doesn't mean I'm not talking about automation. There's a way
Mm.
of automating your infra now. So, what are the key skills? And I thought when I was going to have a session, I will emphasize on this point is one of the key skills that all of us need to be adopting is be comfortable in programming. You've got to be very comfortable in getting programming done, basic programming, advanced programming. Because if you think about like the beautiful OSI model, all the layers that are very well
Oh
defined,
yes.
yeah, now the programming is it almost apart from probably the bottom one that is still hard coded. All the layers have got that programming approach there. So if I, for instance, think about programming a wireless, a virtual network, I can use Bicep, I can use ARM, I can use different other languages to bring that forward. And if I go up and I want to use SQL or some database, I can play with Python and bring it on.
Mm.
So be comfortable, get comfortable in programming. Don't be scared to start on developing your skill as a programmer, and pick any language. If you like Python, you like R, you like Bicep, whatever you like, because these are you can translate these skills to other programming. It's like a mindset that you adopt when you're programming so I think the key takeaway on or to get hold of all these skills of DevOps or app innovation and going up is hands-on programming in any shape or form that you can get, and then you can find yourself your area of interest. So my area of interest right now is infra, and I'm applying that programming there. But my customer is asking about DevOps and app innovation. So I am pulled to sides, and but because I have got those skills and I'm really comfortable in getting hands-on, I can try quickly, go in the portal, try it, build it, see for myself what's going on, and then I can support my customers. And on the other side, I'm getting upskilled, more valuable for my own experience as well. So I think that's the key takeaway from whatever skills. I think whatever trends you see coming in the future. For instance, the basic when you are in school, they tell you get the maths right. You need maths, basic maths. I'm telling you, get the programming right. So you need that going forward, no matter what you do.
Oh no, no, and do you know what? I don't disagree with that view, and I know I've been in some maybe not heated debates, but certainly conversations around do you need to be a programmer? Don't you need to be a programmer? Now I guess look, there's always going to be a place if you're working in tech or if you're coming into tech. I guess that the straightforward answer is you probably don't need to be a programmer to the extent that you're developing the next killer application that's going to go and change the world. But to pick up on what you say, and from my own observation, having those basic understanding, the basic concept of what programming is, I agree completely. It's becoming almost unavoidable, to the extent that, even IT ops folk at the moment, feeding and watering and maintaining services still doesn't take away from the fact that actually knowing some form, like you said, knowing some form is going to give you that huge leg up and huge advantage when you look into cloud technology. So I think it's probably important to frame that, to try not alienate people, to go, oh my God, I'm not a programmer, I can't learn. I like I say, only because I've had a few conversations with others about this.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that coin is people that are in that kind of software dev world that are currently working as programmers. I guess those folk are having to learn a lot about the traditional infrastructure side and kind of how that relates. And it's almost like you've got these two camps of people kind of merging together almost, and having to kind of learn and help each other, I guess, with different types of skill sets. I mean, do you see it in that way as well, Maryam?
Absolutely, you raise a really good point, and when I say get comfortable with programming, there are different levels of it. So
Yeah,
what is that? Get that level, what we call level 200 is a low level programming. So get that scope. So if somebody is doing a presentation, giving you a bicep code, you can see, okay, fine, this is the module, this is how it is done. So it's not foreign to you to follow up that conversation. And here in Microsoft, we have got a very good sense of bringing out and welcoming the individual preference. So as a CSA, there is no defined skill that I have to have a level 400 or something like that in programming, and I need to know this, or you don't need to. So if I am interested in just knowing level 200, fine, do that. If you are a person who really likes to get into the nitty-gritty of things and get really hands-on, you are encouraged to do that. So I think in an organization, creating a space where individual is welcome to bring themselves forward with whatever they want to shape the role in, it's really a formula for success. I've got many of my colleagues who are really good in the languages and getting things connected, and the kind of like speed they do it, it's madness. And then I've got colleagues who really don't like that space. They enjoy more like a customer experience, explaining the technology, going in depth, having that workshop, explain the concept, best practices, and they're allowed to do that as well. So I think basic, yes, it's for instance when back in the days, CCNA was the basic, right? So you gotta know the CCNA. It's not that everybody needs a certification, but everybody was expected to know the knowledge, the information, the subnets, the VNets, whatever we can call it now. It's the same approach to programming. So you need to know the basics, and then you can either shape it more to what you like, or you can run in one direction. So it's up to you.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, like you say, because I guess cloud platforms are they're so diverse and expandable and comprehensive with the kind of tech that you can kind of get involved with, right the way, like like we were saying, from infrastructure applications, networking, and kind of those cloud versions of the typical IT pro world as it was before cloud, I guess. But right the way through to getting involved with some absolutely brilliant kind of AI, kind of machine learning bits and pieces, big data, storage. There's such a huge, diverse
Mm,
set of technical disciplines that you could find yourself in. I think that's a great bit of advice. Get yourself to the basics with any kind of form of programming. And I
mm.
guess if your company allows, see which direction you feel. Back to your point, the first thing you said was if you wake up in the morning and you're excited to start the day, I guess
Yeah.
that's a great way for people to kind of get into cloud and start finding their feet. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the
Mm,
one thing I think we all as humans feel is we feel when we are contributing and we get the recognition for it. So if you are in an environment that is foreign to you, so somebody who is coming from networking to a cloud native company, and you feel that, what do I do, where do I put my skills, all I know is these Cisco routers, and
mm,
this world is talking about another language. And as you rightly said, that the cloud native companies hire and like people who have that got that very good knowledge of basic networking, because that kind of like never changed. Network principles don't change. The BGP remains the same whether you are doing it
mm,
on prem, or there is the understanding of what BGP can do and how you can utilize it, and what it can't do. That kind of understanding. So when you are in a different environment, try to grab on what you already know and try to grow in it. And that's, I think, what I did. I knew networking, and I said, okay, fine, I've got this. I can leverage it quickly. Let's grow in that. And when I was, learning more about Azure networking, how it does, I was able to even contribute in other colleagues, teams. So they were calling me, can you explain this to the customer? How the router
mm.
server works? How does the express route work? And what they need to be more aware, to be more diverse, and things that we do
Yeah.
in and out in telco. It's in a second nature. So whenever you're in foreign environment, pick up something that you already know and you start to grow in it. So for instance, I'm really interested to know, and I'm still learning about it. Azure for operators. So
Hmm.
that's a very good
Okay.
space to start learning about it. And I'm sure there are other cloud companies that have got the similar thing, but I know more about Azure, so I'm naturally going to speak about that. So, for instance, in the Azure for operators, you can classify. There are four main services there. So the first one is the you can say that was Azure Private 5G for the enterprise. So if you have got interest in 5G and you want to learn, pick it up and see how it is transforming the enterprise. There's a lot of programming. There's a lot of architecture that is getting involved in that. But this is something, if you're already doing in your day in day out job, you have got understanding of the mobile networks, you can get involved in it. And then you have got the Azure operate distributed services as well. So what
Okay.
it does is we have got, the OSS, our RAN, and our, the crux, the core of our telecom. They're
So that's
running
those
on some,
those radio access network
yes,
packages,
yeah.
effectively. Yeah. Yeah.
So they're running on some kind of like servers, some heavy computing. Now what Azure is doing is give us the workloads, we'll spin it up for you, and you focus on analytics. So
Mm,
learn about how you do that. So there's a whole another space. I think the best way to translate and connect, and I think that's the issue when somebody is in telco, they sometimes can't envision to connect with cloud.
mm,
But you know 5G, you know RAN, you know OSS, you know all of these things better than anybody else. Okay, let's find out what Azure for operators is and get deep into it. And don't be scared to start the project on your own. If you like something, you have an idea, start writing your blog. Come
mm.
on channels like in contact you, John. that this is
Yeah,
my
yeah.
idea, this is something like that, so you can just grow like this.
I know that, and again, I've spoken to so many people about actually getting involved with community, and it's such a fun, wholesome place to be. Like you say, you get that feedback, and you feel part that you're contributing towards something bigger than yourself. But I mean, to pick you up on the points around the telco and the cloud, and doing some cool things with 5G. Look, it's almost like what is driving that, and maybe this is a good place to kind of jump into this kind of final part of the show, I guess, the next big bet in tech. So what do you think is driving that? Clearly coming from a telco's perspective, fixed lines, radio networks such as 5G, private, public networks, they're becoming more and more prevalent at the moment. They seem to have a lot of momentum, and clearly mobile operators are talking about them a lot more, and it's
Mm.
been across the news for the last few
Yeah.
years. What is it that's driving that, do you think, Maryam, at the moment? What are the kind of key things that is driving the ubiquitous nature of 5G and growing that?
So I think it all boils down to one thing: is how do you connect with the people you're working with better. For
Yeah.
instance, you must have heard one of the best cases of 5G is remote operations.
Hmm.
I think I forgot about the person who already have done it. There was a surgeon miles apart, and he did a
Yeah.
remote surgery, and that happened because of 5G. And imagine, so in just focusing on that, there's a person somewhere in Asia, and the only person who can do the surgeries in America. How does it happen? How can it happen? It's about connectivity. And other bits are, for instance, one of the major trends you will see is that are coming. The next bet that you said in tech is augmented reality.
Mm.
uh, it's shaping our future left, right, and center. And this COVID pandemic, the way for let's pause and say that these telcos did a fantastic job in providing connectivity. And I can't have the Zoom meeting if I don't have the
Yeah.
connectivity,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
So the role of telcos, I think, is crucial in our infrastructure. They are one of our critical infrastructure organizations. And and the future trends you see, there's a quantum computing, and then there is augmented reality, and then there's edge computing. What technology can support it? It's 5G, and I think there is 30% of the whole data traffic is in the year 2024 is going to be
Okay.
on 5G. So
Mm.
all these use cases are driving it. And I'll tell you, I used to be a researcher, and I used to do some kind of like optimization models, and it used to take 15 hours to do a very basic calculation for that. Using quantum computing, 5G, you can do it in within a minute, and how you can save
Yeah.
time and progress. And this is what you need to, going forward. Is the business use cases that's driving the need of 5G. And it's easy. And it's the good thing about 5G is that, and it's very strange. If you talk to a 15 years old about fiber optics and 5G, he will be interested in 5G. Why? Because he knows this phone.
Mm.
He knows what he's talking about. There is a familiarity to it. So people are already familiar to it. They are ready to talk about it, and I can see it in my customers as well. When I talk about Azure for operators, the private 5G core, and the public MECs, and what's going on in 5G space, there's a different light, and there's a different interest in our customers as
Mm.
well, because there's a familiarity, to 5G.
Oh, absolutely. And I know I've seen a few of the sessions around the cool things that we're doing with Stack Edge at the moment, with RANs, and obviously the analytics at the edge and things like that. And I guess to pick you up on, what's driving this, I guess there's so many things going on at the moment. You mentioned about that remote operation.
Mm,
We just feed in words like IoT, Internet of Things. Effectively,
mm,
those tools that surgeon are using are IoT devices, yes, very, very highly developed and engineered IoT devices at that. But even down to the fact that we've got all of these things in our home, or things out in fields powered by
mm,
lithium batteries with a 5G SIM, all of a sudden we're picking up sensor information, data streams from potentially anywhere in the world, with these devices. And I can see that only growing and growing exponentially now over the few years, hence pushing up the need. And to pick you up on that point that you said then about the amount of data flowing over 5G in a couple of years' time is going to be a vast majority, is quite an interesting thought, really, if you think about it, isn't it, I guess? Maybe for our own futures, where do we want to see our careers progress in that sense as well? So, Maryam, this has been a super cool chat. Thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed that. And it feels like we could probably go on and speak for another couple of sessions on this, because it's such an exciting area and cool topic areas to speak around. But look, before we close the episode down, is there any other parting words that you'd like to give us?
No, I think we have touched everything, and I spoke, and as you said, we could go for hours. But I think the last thing that I would like to say is, don't be scared to fail. And if you are failing, this is the best time of your life, because you're going to grow from it. And the other bit is, if you are passionate about technology, just pick anywhere, any strand, any blog, any community, and start learning. Use the social media to your advantage. There's a lot on Twitter now. There's a lot on YouTube now. You can search about a topic there. You have got your phone. Start your journey anywhere that you like. And we are all here. Put in your comments if you like something to chat about, to know about more, what blogs I read or what community we check in, and anything. Just put in the comments, and John and myself will respond.
Absolutely. Maryam, thank you for being an awesome guest. All of Maryam's contact details, I'll put them all down below in the blog article as well. So if you want to reach out and you're watching this, please do so. But for now, Maryam, thank you for being such an awesome guest. It's been a pleasure to speak to you. And we're going to catch up soon, no doubt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, John. Thank you for your opportunity.
Thanks, Maryam. See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you.